Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to have a quiet power over the world around them? They don't yell, they don't beg, and yet things shift the moment they withdraw. Without saying a word, they change the energy of a room. People start to notice, to wonder, to chase. Now imagine, what if you did the same? What if you stopped reacting immediately to everything? What if you chose silence instead of snapping back, or walked away instead of exploding? The truth is, something powerful happens when you stop being available all the time, emotionally, physically, and mentally. The people around you who are used to controlling you through your reactions suddenly lose that control. The moment you pull back, the game changes. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves." So when you become less available, notice who gets uncomfortable, who tries to poke at you, just to get a reaction. It tells you more about them than it does about you. You might not realize it, but every time you say yes just to keep the peace, every time you react without thinking, you give away a piece of your energy. And what's left at the end of the day? You feel tired, frustrated, and sometimes completely empty. Let me be clear, this isn't about turning your back on the world. It's about choosing yourself. It's about becoming whole, real, and strong. Silence, when it comes from awareness, not fear, is powerful. Withdrawing isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And once you stop being predictable, people will finally realize they never really knew you. So let me ask you this. How often do you say yes when your heart wants to say no? Think about that. Since childhood, many of us were taught to please, to be polite, to always be available. But the hard truth is, being too available is not kindness. It's a trap. And as long as you believe that your worth is tied to how quickly you respond or how often you're there for others, you'll keep getting drained, used, and forgotten the moment you're no longer useful. It's time to break free from that. Because being predictable, that's how you become a tool. But becoming a mystery, that's how you take your power back. Have you ever felt like people only come to you when they need something? Like you're an emotional emergency button they press when they want attention, validation, or comfort, and then they disappear once they've gotten what they want? You might not even notice it. Because deep down, you're caught in the illusion that if you're always there for others, someone will finally be there for you. But sadly, it doesn't work that way. Carl Jung talked about the persona, the mask we wear to be accepted, loved, and noticed. And it's often this very mask that makes us too available. You say it's okay when you're barely holding on. You reply to messages instantly. Even when you're drained, you constantly explain, defend, and justify yourself as if you owe the world something. But the more you try to stay at the center of everyone else's world, the more you vanish from your own. Always being available is a subtle form of self-abandonment. It's an unconscious way of trying to avoid rejection and win approval. But the cost of this control is high. It drains your peace, your time, and your energy. And while you might feel like you're giving love, what you're actually giving is little pieces of yourself, day by day, until there's barely anything left. Here's something difficult but true. People who expect you to be constantly available often don't really want you. They want what you offer: comfort, attention, distraction. The moment you change, set a boundary, or say no, those same people might call you cold, distant, or strange. Not because you became someone new, but because you stopped being useful to them. And here comes the harshest truth of all. The more available you are, the less others value you. When something is always within reach, people stop appreciating it. What's too easy to get becomes an emotional rag. No one respects what they didn't have to earn. No one treasures what's always there. So pause for a second and ask yourself, who truly deserves your time, your presence, your energy, and who actually deserves your silence? Before you answer that, let's go deeper. Why do we react so quickly? Why do we feel this need to please, to explain, to respond to everything right away? The answer, once again, lies in something Carl Jung called psychic energy. And that's exactly what we'll talk about in the next part, because your energy is your most valuable asset. And if you don't learn how to protect it, others will continue to use it against you. If this message is resonating with you, make sure to subscribe to the channel and join me on this journey. Thank you so much for your support. Carl Jung didn't see the human mind as just a machine reacting automatically to everything around it. To him, our psyche is more like an energy system, where every thought, emotion, and action consumes part of our mental energy. So here's a question for you. Are you choosing where your energy goes, or are you letting the world decide for you? Every time you react without thinking, Whether you're defending yourself from pointless criticism, arguing to prove you're right, or trying to please people who don't value you, you're spending your precious energy on things that give nothing back. Jung said it clearly, what you resist persists. The more you react, the more you stay trapped. Being emotionally drained doesn't mean you're weak. It means your energy is being misdirected, and when you're running on empty, you're more vulnerable. That's when emotionally needy, manipulative, and opportunistic people sense your weakness. They see that you react to everything, that you're always trying to fix things, always trying to be there, and they use it against you. Jung believed that a healthy mind is one that knows how to hold on to its energy. That means knowing how to say no without guilt, how to stay silent without feeling like a coward, how to observe instead of reacting, because true strength isn't found in reacting to everything, it's found in choosing when and how to act. And that choice only becomes possible when you know yourself deeply, especially your own impulses. So ask yourself, how many times have you lost sleep over something someone said? How many hours have you wasted replaying a conversation in your head, wondering what you should have said, or why they treated you that way? All of that mental spiraling is energy loss. You're feeding ghosts from the past that should have been left behind. Psychic energy is like a force field. When you protect it, people can feel your presence the moment you walk into a room. But if you waste it on every little reaction, you start to feel invisible, fragile, emotional, and exhausted. And let's be honest, the world isn't kind to those who break too easily. So start paying attention to what triggers you, what makes you lose your balance. These moments are not weaknesses, they're signals. They show you where your energy is leaking. That's where your real work begins. Not to become cold or distant, but to become selective, to become in control of your own emotions. And here's one of Jung's most powerful ideas. When you stop giving your energy away, you break the illusions people have placed on you. That makes them uncomfortable, because now you're not playing the role they expected. You're not easy to manipulate anymore. In the next part, we'll go even deeper. We'll talk about silent manipulation, how some people feed off your energy without you even noticing, and why becoming unavailable is the one move that leaves them powerless. Get ready to see the truth behind the masks others wear, and how you can finally stop giving away your power. Opportunistic people don't always need to raise their voices, threaten, or force things. They just press the emotional buttons you've left exposed, and like clockwork, you react, every time. Carl Jung called this projection a psychological defense mechanism, where people see in others what they cannot face in themselves. But here's the part most people miss. While others are projecting onto you, you're also becoming a screen for their issues. The more emotionally available you are, the easier it is for people to paint you with their expectations, needs, and unresolved problems. Think about that friend who only contacts you during a crisis, or the partner who expects you to always save the day, or the person who compliments you only when you're useful to them. This isn't by chance. They're not truly connecting with you. They're connecting with the idea of you, the version of you that plays the role they need. And why do you keep playing that role? Because you're afraid. Afraid to disappoint. Afraid to be unloved. Afraid of being abandoned. The most powerful form of manipulation doesn't always come through anger or shouting. It often shows up in quiet guilt, when you feel like you owe someone your time, your energy, your help, even when it drains you completely. Here's the core truth. The manipulator doesn't need to control your life. They just need you to keep reacting the same way. But the moment you stop reacting, everything begins to fall apart. When you start saying no, staying silent, or walking away without explanation, the role they placed on you begins to crumble, and suddenly they no longer know who you are. That's unsettling for them because now they're forced to look at themselves. And not everyone is ready to face their own emptiness. Your silence becomes a threat. Why? Because it forces others to hear their own internal noise. That's when the backlash starts. The blame, the guilt trips, the emotional outbursts. Not because you did something wrong, but because you stopped being the mirror they used to avoid looking at themselves. Jung once said, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." When you stop feeding toxic cycles, when you walk away, the other person's shadow starts to surface. And for those who have always used you as an emotional escape, that's unbearable. But now the focus turns to you. Are you ready to be misunderstood, judged, or even rejected for choosing to protect your peace? Are you strong enough to sit through the silence that comes after you finally say enough? Because here's the truth. In that silence, a new kind of power is born. A quiet, unshakable strength that no one can take from you. And in the next part, we'll explore exactly why silence, when used with awareness, can be one of the most powerful tools in the human psyche. It doesn't just change how others treat you. It transforms the entire relationship between you and the world. The modern world is loud. Everyone wants to speak, to respond fast, to win arguments, even if it costs them their peace of mind. But there's a rare kind of power that few understand, and even fewer master, the power of silence. This isn't the silence of weakness or fear. It's conscious, intentional, razor-sharp silence, the kind that doesn't represent absence. It radiates presence. Carl Jung saw silence not as emptiness, but as a powerful space where real inner transformation begins. When you stop reacting, something shifts. You start to notice things. You see patterns, emotional traps, repeated manipulation, habits of self-sabotage. Silence gives you clarity, and clarity is a threat to those who rely on controlling you. Have you ever noticed how some people become anxious when you don't reply, when you don't explain yourself, or when you simply pull away? It's not that they truly miss you. It's that your silence takes away their ability to control the story. As long as you're talking, you're still playing their game. But when you go quiet, you rewrite the rules, and that shakes people who thrive on your reactions. True silence isn't about staying quiet on the outside. It's about mastering your energy on the inside. It's the decision not to be pulled into emotional chaos. It's choosing not to fight battles that drain you or prove your worth to people who don't see it. Jung believed that the journey of becoming your true self, what he called individuation, requires space. And only in silence can you hear your own voice, without the world's noise drowning it out. But silence isn't easy. It comes with a cost. You'll lose people who only valued the version of you that served their needs. You'll confuse those who never truly saw you, only the role you played. Some may even call you cold, distant, or arrogant. But these reactions say more about them than about you. Here's the difficult truth. As you grow, you become more careful with your words. You start to see that every sentence is an investment of your energy, and not everyone deserves access to your truth. Sometimes silence isn't backing down. It's self-respect. It's power. It's choosing to protect your peace rather than explain it. Silence is uncomfortable for others because it forces them to sit with their own thoughts. It makes them face the noise within. And in that discomfort, their true nature reveals itself more clearly than any argument ever could. So ask yourself, how much of your energy have you spent explaining yourself to people who were never truly listening? You don't need to defend your absence. It speaks for itself. And those who feel threatened by it, they were never really hearing you in the first place. Some people won't realize how much they depended on your emotional imbalance to feel in control until you stop giving them access to it. But the most powerful silence isn't the one that unsettles others. It's the silence that rebuilds you from the inside. It's the kind of silence that connects you to something deeper than approval, beyond anyone's expectations. It's in this quiet space, free from constant demands, that you begin to recover your energy. You start to reconnect with who you really are. And that's exactly what we'll explore next, because it's not enough to shut out the noise. You need to learn how to use your energy consciously, to decide where it flows, where it stays, and where it should never be spent again. It's time to become selective with your soul. If you're currently trying to reclaim your energy and set healthier boundaries, my book Beyond the Shadow may really help you. It breaks down Carl Jung's most important ideas and gives you tools to protect your energy, create meaningful boundaries, and reconnect with your true self. You'll find the link in the pinned comment. But remember, knowledge alone isn't enough. If you keep saying yes when you want to say no, if you keep replying to messages that drain you, sitting through conversations that go nowhere, or maintaining relationships out of habit, then you're not changing. Awareness without action is just another form of self-deception. Real transformation begins the moment you decide to become selective. This isn't about being cold, arrogant, or indifferent. It's about choosing to stop being available to everyone, at any time, for any reason. It's about taking ownership of your energy, your time, and your peace. And it starts with small but powerful actions. Not responding right away, taking a breath before you react, stepping out of a discussion before it turns into chaos, turning off your phone without guilt, saying not today, saying I'm not interested, saying I won't get involved. But here's the most important part. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't need to justify your silence or defend your absence. You owe nothing to anyone but yourself. And for some people, that's unforgivable. Because when you stop explaining yourself, you take away their power to keep you in the role of the always available, always understanding person. Carl Jung understood that real growth, the process he called individuation, requires a period of isolation, but not the kind of isolation that leaves you broken. This is sacred. It's a time of retreat, where you finally listen to your own voice without the noise of the world telling you who you should be. Want to measure how far you've come? Watch who starts pulling away when you become more reserved. Notice who tries to push your buttons when you stop reacting. Pay attention to who accuses you of changing when you finally begin to protect your peace. These aren't signs you're doing something wrong. They're proof that you're breaking free. Being unavailable will feel uncomfortable at first. You'll feel guilty. You'll wonder if you're being selfish. You might even hear that you're being harsh, but that's just the discomfort of growth. You've spent a lifetime being conditioned to put yourself last. It's only natural that putting yourself first feels unfamiliar. Conscious unavailability is the foundation of self-respect. Every time you say no to the world, you are saying a powerful yes to yourself. When you walk away from a toxic environment, you're not running, you're making a statement. Your peace is worth more than any fake connection. And when you stop explaining yourself to everyone, something powerful happens. You begin to earn respect, even if only from a few. But not everyone is ready for that kind of presence. Your emotional distance makes others uncomfortable. Why? Because it reveals something they've been trying to avoid, that they depended on your emotional chaos to feel in control. And when that chaos disappears, they lose their grip. That's when the rupture happens. And with that rupture comes pain, loneliness, confusion. You may feel like you're losing something, but the truth is, you're finally setting yourself free. So what happens next? What comes after the distance? After the silence? In this final part, let's talk about the rebirth, the new life that begins when you're brave enough to be misunderstood, to walk alone and to finally feel whole on your own. When you stop being constantly available to everyone, something profound starts to shift. First, there's a heavy silence, an uncomfortable quiet that seems to echo inside you. You might question yourself. Was I too harsh? Am I pushing people away? But slowly that silence starts to transform. It begins to cleanse, to calm, to heal. And then solitude arrives, not the kind that feels empty, but the kind that feels full of presence. Your presence. It's the solitude of the strong, the kind that comes when you no longer betray yourself just to keep others around. Where there used to be confusion, you find clarity. Where there was anxiety, peace settles in. Where there was neediness, a deep inner strength takes root. Carl Jung said the journey of becoming your true self, individuation, requires you to step away from the crowd, to drop the masks, to walk alone for a while. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're not escaping the world, you're returning to yourself. This is where you stop being reactive and start becoming creative. You no longer let the world shape you. You begin to shape your own world. And here's a hard truth. The people who feel uncomfortable with your absence were never connected to you. They were connected to the role you played in their lives. Now that you've outgrown that role, they don't know what to do with you. And that's liberating. Yes, you will lose people. Yes, you will leave behind old places and patterns. But in doing so, you will find yourself again. You will reconnect with your essence. You'll be misunderstood, but you'll start being respected. Because when you're no longer available for anything and everything, you become something rare, valuable, unforgettable. Make no mistake, this is your rebirth, a new beginning, a life where you no longer settle for emotional scraps, manipulation, or hollow affection. From now on, you only accept what matches your peace, your truth, and your inner wholeness. And if you've made it this far, it's because something inside you is already ready for this next step. You already know, being loved means nothing if it costs you yourself. And true self-love, it begins the moment you choose yourself, even if it means walking alone for a while. So let me ask you, are you ready to be misunderstood, rejected, or even disliked for the sake of your inner freedom? Are you ready to pay the price of being fully you? If this message touched you, if it made sense to your heart, write in the comments, I choose my peace. Let's see how many of us are walking this path together. And don't forget, keep watching the next video. It's more important than you might think. I'll see you there.